All right, thanks for joining us today. My name is Hugo Gonzalez. I'm Senior Segment Specialist with Mmaki USA. And today I'm joined by Carissa Turwey, who is our Print Solutions Specialist Supervisor, and James Hughes, who is a specialist out in the Dallas office. And today we're going to be presenting a couple of application workflows. One of them is for the JFX 200 1213EX for Braille applications. And the other is for the Kebab HS on the UJF machines, which prints on cylindrical and tapered cylindrical objects. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we will address them after each of the videos. And without further ado, I will be sharing my video. Hi, my name is Hugo Gonzalez, Senior Segment Specialist with Mimaki USA. And today, I'm going to show you how to create ADA signage and Braille applications with a new medium format JFX 200 1213EX. The JFX 200 is the newest in our long line of JFX products. It has the same versatility, including flexible inks, hard inks, white, clear, and primer, in a bulk ink system that allows you to create a wide range of applications. Today, we're going to focus on high-speed Braille applications. You can create approximately 35 6x9 size signs in about an hour and a half, giving you the flexibility to take on higher production ADA signage jobs without taking up a lot of space. Let's check it out. For this lesson, I'm going to start with the fully finished product. And by this, I mean the full layout in full color as you want the final product to appear. In this case, I am going to be keeping a white background, but I am going to keep the shape to hold the space for the rest of the image. All I have to do is select the portion that I want raised. This includes the icon, the lettering, and the Braille on the bottom. And then in Mmaki Rasteling Tools, I'm going to select the Braille icon. There are many options. Most of the options that you're going to be using are high speed or standard. And high speed builds with a CMYK, which is indicated by the black layering here. And standard builds with clear ink, which is indicated by the light yellow layering right here. In most cases, we're probably going to build with high speed. And then you have a couple options regarding the order in which it's printed. If you have a colored background or color as I have here with the red, this indicates with the green bar what order it's going to print it in. In this case, it would print the color first. And of course, we don't want that. We want the color to be on top. And because this color needs to stand out against black buildup, then we ask it to cover up the Braille with white. So this means that it'll build up CMYK and then add a white coating and then print the color last. And then you have levels to choose from. In most municipalities, level 3 will meet compliance. This is for everything pretty much outside of California. In California, you'll want to build with level 4, and the heights will be indicated within Rasteling. So that's all. With those build-up layers selected, we select Output. It'll ask us where to save it, and in this case, we're going to save it to the hot folder that's associated with our JFX 200 1213EX. We'll go ahead and just hit save. We hit OK, and then we can go over to Rasteling. As you can see, it automatically uploads into Rasteling once you save it into the hot folder. From here, we can review the profile settings. And in this case, for the Braille buildup layer, it already has all of the Braille profiles selected, so you don't need to do anything further. For our final layer, we can modify the resolution if we want. In this case, I'm going to leave it at 6x9 as well. I'm going to work with a jig print layout for the JFX 200 1213EX. So I'm going to select jig print. And I already have one that I've pre-made for this application. This will fit 35 signs covering, most of the bed for the JFX 21213EX. I've added 3/4 inch spacing between all of the signs to match my jig. And I've already indicated that my signs will be 6 by 9 inch material. For a more in-depth look on how to create jigs and jig layouts, we have a few resources on our YouTube page. Once I've selected the layout, I will select the amount of copies that I would like to print. And that's it. From here, we can go ahead and send the print. As you can see, I'm not currently connected to a printer as indicated by the status bar. However, if I were connected to a printer, it would be able to give me the ink information, including how much ink is being spent for the table before I actually print it. As you can see, it's printing bidirectionally, and it's layering white on top of CMYK for high-speed buildup. It will also print an additional layer of white before printing the final color to give it the most vivid color. All right. So that is our presentation on JFX 200 1213EX printing Braille. As some of you may recognize, it's the same overall, it's the same system as the UJF system. So if you're already familiar with it, it's very easy learning curve to be able to do it on the JFX machine. Mech or Chris, are there any questions that came through?
Oh, I don't see any yet. I have a question though. I noticed that you just showed us the high speed. Will you tell them a little bit about the other capabilities of what they're wanting to do?
Okay, great question. Um, the the options that I showed you were, let me share my screen. The options that I showed you were for the high-speed Braille. And the other option that we have available that I mentioned is standard and compliant. So each of these do have a different workflows or different speeds. As we showed, this one builds the CMYK, so it does build a little faster. Standard builds only with clearing. There can be up to 2 clearing channels on the machine, so it is a slower process. But this allows you to create different effects like invisible braille, or if you want to create any kind of texture effect on the background. I know on ADA we can't have gloss effects, but you can create textures in a matte finish as well to create, a higher value image. Or you can do things like create line work that's raised, or kind of piping along the edges type of thing, to depending on the requirements for the business that you're doing. I know uh, the hotels that we were at recently, I noticed that almost all of them had extra raised line work that was the same color as the background. It was more for feel or interest. So doing it in standard would be a way to do it. Compliant was part of our original uh, Braille program, and this was designed only for Braille applications. So this does not do the full sign. It does not raise the lettering. That's why we created standard and high speed. Compliant, what it does is it only builds dots. So this is for kind of a faster, design workflow for Braille. Like you literally just type Braille, and that's all it's going to raise. Thank you for that question.
We have one, and the question is this feature available on the regular JFX 2513-200EX?
No, at the moment it is not. This was introduced with the smaller size, the 1213EX, and to my knowledge, at the moment it's not going to be retroactively programmed into the bigger ones.
Somebody asked, can you resize the image for Kebab HS after it is in raster link?
We'll answer that one after the kebab video. But we are actually, it's a great point. We are going to be welcoming questions from all of our UV equipment and all of our flatbed equipment. As I mentioned, we have the experts Carissa Turley and James Hughes to help us answer questions throughout our whole UV portfolio. All right, if that is it for now,
Oh, wait, somebody said, does it build faster with CMYK strictly because it has all four heads firing instead of just one or two?
Correct. It is building faster with CMYK because it has four, ink channels firing at once, as opposed to the clear ink, which only has two ink channels firing at any point. So it is strictly that there's just more ink channels available for the building process for each of the types.
Awesome. And somebody said, what is the printing tolerance on that many individual plaques?
I don't know if I understand the question. Printing tolerance for like accuracy. If you're talking about accuracy and precision, I know it's prints accurately up to 0.03%. So you're talking very, very minute measurement deviations. So you do actually get flat walls and very straight lines when you're building with Braille.
Jason, I hope that answers your questions. And if it doesn't, you can ask again and we'll have an answer.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start the next segment, the Kebab HS video. Today, I'm going to show you a really basic workflow for the Kebab HS. The first thing you want to do in the workflow is measure your cup. These measurements will be entered on the printer during setup, and then we'll be using them in Illustrator to lay out our design. Please take a look at our supplemental Kebab installation video on YouTube. This installation guide will give you a step-by-step process all the way from installing the kebab on the machines to measuring your cup to properly installing your first piece. This process might seem time-consuming, but it only really needs to be done once per new model cup. Even if you're printing the same type of cup over and over, it's still a good idea to remeasure it every once in a while, just in case there are any manufacturing changes. We're going to start with the image that we want to print. In this case, we're going to do a full wrap on the popular JDS camel cups. This means that we want the image size to reflect the circumference of the cup itself. We're going to aim for the larger size. So the first thing I want to do is transform the background. We're going to go to edit the artboard. And here we're going to enter the measured diameter, which was 3.46 inches. And we don't have to do any math. We can just multiply by 3.14 right in the measurement box. This calculation will give us the circumference of the opening The print area of the cup is 6 inches, so we just enter 6. This will give us the size that the artboard should be to do a complete wrap. Since this is vector, we can easily resize this by entering one of the digits. In this case, I'm going to enter the height because it was 6 inches. And we're going to make sure to keep this linked constraint checked so that it modifies the width in the same proportion. Now we can center this image right on the artboard. I'm going to save this as a PDF because it makes it easier to work with the artboard size. File, save as. Now we're going to go into RasterLink, and we're going to open this file into the printer, in this case a 7151 plus 2. We're going to select OK. It's loaded here. I'm going to bring this to the top by right-clicking, just so it's easier to work with at the very top. The first thing I want to do is check the profile. This cup has a little bit of curvature in addition to the tapering. So I want to select an LD profile. LD stands for long distance profiles. And what this does is it accommodates for any variation of the surface that's not flat. In this case, the LD2 profile will allow you to print up to 2.5 millimeters from the distance up to 4.5 millimeters compared to the normal 1.5 millimeters head gap that we usually recommend. What this does is it slows down the print just a little bit, enough to accommodate the extra distance the ink droplet has to travel. From here, we go to the Kebab tab. If you do not see a Kebab tab down here, you can add it to the 7151 by going to Printer Management, selecting the printer, and then going to Function icon. Here, you'll scroll down and see that there's a Kebab Jig Print tab. Make sure it's checked to activate it. As you can see, it has now appeared. And then we select the Kebab Edit check. Here we have a selection called Input of Diameter. This would normally calculate the size of the print required for a full wrap. However, this particular function is for the Kebab MK2L, not for the Kebab HS. Please be aware that this screen will look different depending on what Kebab option you have selected. You can either use the Kebab MK2L on the 7151 or 6042, or the new Kebab HS. For example, in this case, we will be printing on tapered media, so you do want to select the print on tapered media selection. From here, you can go ahead and print. This type of printing layers each channel separately. It'll print CMYK, white, and clear, even gloss, depending on the final look that you're going for. I'm going to show you one more tool available on RasterLink Tools. RasterLink Tools is a plugin that you can install from the RasterLink installation CD, or you could download directly from Mmaki.com. The tool I'm going to show you today is called Kebab Warp. What this does is it pre-warps isolated logos like this to print them on a cup and have them be squared after printing. As you may know, if you print on a tapered object, the lines tend to skew a bit because of the shape of the cup. As you move from the top to the bottom of the cup, you actually reduce the amount of print area, which is why things tend to look angled. To use this tool, you select the object that you're going to print. This works better for isolated objects. It's not necessarily intended for full wraps. Select Warp Tool, and you enter the measured diameters from before. My default measurement system in Illustrator is metric, so I'm going to go ahead and enter it metric. This is the same measurement that I entered earlier, the 3.46 inches in millimeters. And then the design position is just asking you about how far from the bottom do you want it. I want it about 3 inches from the bottom, so I'm going to put in 76 millimeters. And then you hit OK. As you can see, this provides the 3 inches of space you need under it. And I'll zoom in so that you can see the pre-warp that it does. In this case, it's very slight, but once it's printed, it will look squared. You can save and open the image just like in the previous example, or you can use the rasterlink function. This function allows you to save the image right into the printer's hot folder. This hot folder will be monitored by rasterlink and automatically uploaded when you save it. As you can see, it's automatically opening, and the rest is just like the previous application. There's one more tip regarding the magnet light guards. These light guards are intended to block as much of the UV curing light as possible from the heads. In order to create these guards, we've provided contour rulers to help you measure the contour of the cup. You use it to measure the part of the cup that is sticking out above the kebab cover. By cutting it following the shape of the contour, you maximize the effectiveness of the light guards. We do recommend that you do it for every new cup that you intend to print on. For more detailed instruction, please follow the manual included with the Kebab HS. Thanks for watching, and keep an eye out for more advanced topics with the Kebab HS. All right. See a few questions popping up for this one already. But I also want to give Carissa and James an opportunity to answer these. James provided a lot of the information for the Kebab HS. He's been one of our champions working with this particular option. So I will let them answer a few of the questions and get off the screen myself.
That was the first one was, can you resize the image for the Kebab HS after it's in rasterlink? And yes, you can. I like, instead of using the scale, to go ahead and use the crop tool on that to kind of, like if it's a little bit too long, your artwork's a little bit too long for your print area on your cup, then, instead of using the scale tool, but using the crop tool works as well. So yes, you can change that.
100%. Actually, I was going to say that instead of using the scale tool, because that's actually going to alter your overall size, to just go ahead and maybe if you're over a little bit on the top and you feel like you set your origin point at the bottom on the kebab about where it should be, then you can definitely go to the crop tool to take a few millimeters off the top instead of nudging it on the scale.
And then James, I know you know a little bit more about unloading and unloading the mugs. So it says, in your opinion, what are the print times and loading and unloading of the mug? And then tell them about, it will also depend on, how many layers you're using.
Right. Of course, the fact that it does dock and essentially go over each nozzle or the color per color. When you add a primer or add a clear or anything along those lines, you are going to add time to your overall print. And so depending on the machine, the lead times can change. But one thing I can consistently say is that when it comes to switching out to the next blank, the process never changes. You definitely get incredibly efficient at it. You get better at it. You get a groove kind of to where it should take 30 seconds or less. So whenever you're in the mode, I would say with a 6042, you're able to do, 4.5 minutes or so. So adding that maybe 30 seconds of extra time on the production, you're able to easily get 12 cups an hour. That's running at the default 8. I know you can run at a 6 pass to get that a little bit faster as well, and that's at a full taper too. So we kind of got a little fancy with that one too. So
Yeah, that's what I was going to add is the tapered cups are going to print a little bit slower when you select that in Rasterlink. So those are going to run a little bit slower. The ones that do not have a taper run a little bit faster. And then each one of the machines is also going to have a different speed. The 7151 will have a different speed than the 6042.
actually have a couple different versions here from the 7151, the one that we regularly use in house. 11 minutes is what we're working with, but that also actually adds the clear gloss layer to it, which I really like. It almost is like a varnish on the outside, and it gives it a nice protective coat. I might have dropped this one down some stairs accidentally when I was field testing it with some coffee in it, and it dinged it, but I think that's the ding you're going to get from anything, and it still held up really well. So I'm pretty proud of this. Different designs too. So I figured I would show these off. Every time we did a different event, I would try to do a different cup. So every time somebody invited me out to do a kebab training or some sort of fun thing, I was able to provide a new fun design to go. Of course, I got my Texas cow here, but my favorite would obviously be this guy right here. This is a really awesome one. The seam works out really well. It does take a print probably to get the seam to almost be vanished. These other examples are the ones that after I got it going for a while, you could tell that, the seam is just, you can't even find it on this one. It's awesome. Same with this one. I like where if you actually strategically put in your design where the gradient and maybe a little bit of a fade overlays, then you can compensate by actually coloring over that seam. And it looks really good. So if you're doing it both sides, you almost can trick the customer to thinking there is no seam. So it's beautiful.
So the next question is what would be the maximum angle you can print at? And you can go up to 7.5 degrees on that. So the answer on that is 7.5 degrees is the maximum.
Haven't had enough time to really push beyond or anything even around that to see how far we can get, but we've had some really successful prints where it goes over the edge on the bottom to where when you lay it flat, it's literally a full color. You cannot see the seam when it's laying on its bottom. So it's really cool to be able to have that as a feature where it's literally a full wrap from the top to the bottom, a visible cup.
And someone asked if the videos will be available after the meeting, and yes, they will.
Yeah, more to come as well. I think that with the template, same for instance, this JDS cup, there is a template floating around where I was very lucky to have a customer cut a bunch on his awesome laser. Well, you can't do a laser, but he had a router. And so I just gave him the file and he just literally cut these out. So for this amazing cup, you're able to just throw this right on. And same with the actual version. The whole point of it is to be able to just measure at one time. If somebody's done it, if anybody's done it, we should be able to have some sort of a maybe community file that could be floating around of all of these little templates that would save every single person the trouble of having to remeasure or do contour or cut and kind of explore the edge of doing it, or just going straight to doing it right. And that's what I think is really awesome, is I can show up, I can slap this on. Actually, the printer will print this on the provided magnet that it does come with in the kit for your kebab. And you just slap that on there, put in these exact numbers as you dial it in, and you're able to get some really, really amazing cups within your first couple stabs. So yeah, this is awesome.
So then I also want to make you guys aware that, you know, there is a video out there right now on our YouTube channel that we did on installing the kebab onto your machine and then taking it off and making sure all of the adjustments are there. So we didn't go over that in this meeting, but that educational video is out there. And if you guys would like to see that, we'll put that to our YouTube channel on that. So keep watching that YouTube channel. We will continue to have more education.
Absolutely. And we're always here to help. We want to constantly, get everybody's knowledge over time to just really grow and see how exciting this kebab is. There's barely an unprinted cup in this building because I can throw pretty much anything in there and, over the course of just a little bit of time, be able to run an entirely new cup at a full taper. So it's really cool.
Can you print a cup with a handle?
Not yet. Actually, I have a cup with a handle that I can, because the handle's detachable. A company called Drink Tanks I'm working with, they're really awesome. But they all have these huge ones, and they even have a CO2 system that you can drop in there, so it's pressurized. Drink Tanks, though, check them out. They're really, really nice, and all of their large systems. I mean, I'm going to get me some of these for all the drink tanks, because they're really the way to go, I think, especially with my big coffee mug that I like to carry around. So
we have Michael asking, what kind of material do you recommend for light blocking?
I'll probably take this one. So that magnet, you're going to get a little bit of the high speed, when you get it, you're going to get a little bit of it. We found some also that we just got off of Amazon. So you can buy those sheets and use those as well. But that's a good point that you bring up, Michael, because everybody understand that this high-speed kebab actually has the UV lamps inside the high-speed kebab unit. And so making sure that light is not coming out of that kebab during printing is the most important. So making sure that these magnets are cut properly to the type of cup you're using is going to be very important.
Almost why I really like the idea of providing a vector file that you print literally on the printer before you install the kebab. So it has an amazing profile contour already set up, already perfected and tested for you to be able to kind of bypass a lot of the struggle that that might have been had on the early learning curve of this kebab. So.
Well, Tanya York liked your little cup and said, can you please make me one? I love that, Tanya. Thank you. And just so you guys know, if you guys are interested in this or interested in getting a sample, please contact us. And we will absolutely help you and give you samples if you need it.
Important thing is, I believe, I'm not incredibly versed on lasers, but I believe you cannot cut magnet on laser. If somebody can confirm that is right, it produces gases, I believe, that are very harmful.
Correct. If it has any PVC in it, it will actually produce gases that will also destroy the laser itself, the unit. It'll create corrosive compounds.
It took me, for this one is another little acrylic cup I'm about to be testing. It's almost like a party cup. I cut this by hand. It really, especially when you kind of get the hang of it a little bit and see how these ones are set up and how the contour kind of breaches the surface of where the magnet's supposed to show and block, you'll get the hang of it pretty quickly. It only takes one good magnet to do. And I hope that maybe some of these templates and stuff we can help with will help work that out.
Someone asked if they can do it with a plotter router.
Like that question.
They can cut the magnet if that's what they're asking. They can
Yeah,
cut the magnet.
for sure.
On one of our plotters, you might need one of the more robust type blades that come for that one. But this magnet is not very thick, so you should be able to easily do it. And the one he's talking about that he's doing, the next one is a transparent cup, which is also important because when you're doing transparent material, you'll have this little fluffy stuff that has to go inside the cup during printing. So so transparent stuff like that, there's a little extra step in your production for that, but you can do white color on some of that too, and then it makes an amazing product, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, any other questions? We're always here to help in any way we can.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. So if those are the questions, I think we're going to end it right there. We're a couple minutes over the half hour, but always feel free to ask us any questions by sending this to our email, applications@mmaki.com, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you.